Oh, no. We've done absolutely the upside down thing on this build. Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is Boost My Build, and this is the very first episode of Season 4. It's finally here. This is the series where we take your PC build list, we tear them up, we put them back together and massively increase your performance. And we've got two insane builds for this episode. We've got a $700 1440p gaming PC build that's stuck at 1080p, and we've got a $1,500 time capsule build that's stuck in 2020, and we bring them back to the future and get them gaming at 240Hz 1440p. Remember, if you get value out of this video, give it a like, 'cause it makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Hey, with that, let's jump into it. Before that, this video is sponsored by VIP SSD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows 10 licenses and that terrible Activate Windows 10 watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SSD Key, and get a Windows 10 Home or Pro OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 25% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom, you have a fully licensed Windows 10 for a crazy low price, which can be upgraded for free to Windows 11. Use the links in the video description below. We've got Sappy. Sappy says, hello, Mr. PC Builder. Hello, Sappy. Probably the best PC tutor that you've seen. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Big fan of the content and the cat. Well, cat loves that. And they're trying to pick PC parts for a while, mostly for gaming, but they also do recording and video editing, about a 50-50 split, and they have a budget of $700 US. Now that's getting kind of tight, $700 US. A couple of components are going up in price like RAM, SSD, and others. Looking at playing optimized games like Fortnite, Apex, CSGO, high FPS. Hope we can help me with all your knowing knowledge. My knowing knowledge, all right, let's see what you got. Oh, no. We've done absolutely the upside down thing on this build. What am I talking about? We have massively undersized our GPU, and we've massively oversized a lot of other components. Drives me crazy at this budget level, but let's focus in on you finish out at $739 of your $700 budget. Now, I will say I don't mind going over a little bit to more $750 to $800. In our recent best February builds, we did a $750-ish, but a little bit more if you wanted a really good GPU in there build, and I think that puts us in a different performance category than even spending like $720. So that extra little amount of money really does make the difference here. Let's start with the GPU because I don't love how we've sized our GPU. You went with the RTX 2070 Super, a used one that you say you're going to get for $200. I checked on eBay just moments ago. Yeah, 2070 Super is easily available for that price. But 8 gigs of VRAM. 8 gigs of VRAM, and it's used, and you can buy a new equivalent, which is the RX 6650 XT, for like $20 or $30 more. $20 or $30 more. It's going to give you actually slightly more performance. It's going to come with this thing called a warranty. If it's bugged or if there's something wrong with it, you send it back, you exchange it for a new one. I just don't love buying a used card that has a new equivalent that's almost the same price, especially when it only has 8 gigs of VRAM. A CPU, a 5600X. I don't know why everybody loves buying the CPU. When I look at like what CPUs people buy from our Amazon links, for instance, I constantly see the 5600X outselling the 5600, and I want to pull my hair out. I want to pull it out because it's the same CPU. You're just spending an extra $20 or even $30 at times. Now, look, there have been some sales where the 5600X has gone below that price, and that's fine. Grab it, or if it's only a couple bucks, but $20 at this budget makes a difference, especially when we're talking every single component. Grab that 5600 instead. For the cooler, I would have gone included stock cooler here, especially given our GPU level of performance, until I can get to at least that 10, 12 gigs of VRAM on my GPU. You can't add money into your GPU later, but you can add an aftermarket cooler later after you use the included stock cooler. So that would be probably my recommendation here. I know you want to go white RGB on everything. I can see that from the build already, but we have to recognize what level of performance we're at, and we're in a more budget tier, so every last buck is going to count. The motherboard, MSI B550M Pro VDH, the problem with this board is just too expensive. I don't care that it has Wi-Fi on it. $120 too much. There are Wi-Fi B550 motherboards for like $89. Again, this is a budget class of motherboard, and I personally hate the way this motherboard looks. I've never liked it. There's also a newer version of it, by the way, the Pro VC, which I think has Wi-Fi 7, don't quote me on that, but it has an upgraded Wi-Fi module on it. Again, not in love with this motherboard choice. For the RAM, $55 is too much. Now the RAM speed, 3600 CL18, perfectly fine. Same speed basically as 3200 CL16. If you're confused by that, watch our best RAM for gaming video. I'll leave it linked down in the video description as part of our how to build a PC playlist. But $55, you can buy those 3200 CL16 kits that are not white RGB. They're just kind of plain vanilla looking for like $35. Again, $20 more we're spending on white RGB. It's just because DDR4 is becoming kind of that budget class of memory where memory makers aren't going to, once those white RGB units have run out, which they've run out, they're just not going to do that anymore because people aren't overspending on the RAM right now. You went with the Motion Vortex 1 terabyte. This is fine, 60. Yours is $70. Normally sells for 60, looks like, just out of stock over at Amazon. That's fine. We just wanted to get the cheapest 1 terabyte NVMe drive that we can right now. NVMe prices have massively increased. They have more than doubled at this point, more than doubled for a lot of units out there. So just grab whatever you can right now, but we don't need something super fast for a budget gaming PC. In the case, I don't mind the Montech Air 100 ARGB. Might be a little pricey, $70 right now. I also see the plus on it, which means it's not sold or shipped by Amazon out there. It's completely third party. Again, great case, but there are some cheaper alternatives that are like more like $50. Power supply, 600 watt of PVA Prestige. It's a fine unit. It's on the speculative list on the C tier. That just means they don't have all the teardowns and stuff that they can to fully certified as C tier rated on the PSU cultist list. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, check out our best PSU buying guide from last year. We go through everything, how to size, how to buy it for quality. There are some other units out there right now that are C tier rated finally on the market. They're about this price. I'd probably switch over to them. All told, $739. I'm just not seeing the level of performance here. I'm not happy with 8 gigs of VRAM on our GPU. I just feel like we could do way better for this price point. I call this the $730 1440p gaming PC build because you're going to be able to play all titles and you're going to have enough VRAM to do that in 2024. Let's start off at the budget. I finished out at $734.81. $734.81. You were $5 more than me. Now, again, I'm going to advocate that you spend at least this level because I think you get a significantly higher quality of gaming PC. Otherwise, we have to drop down to 1080p. And how are we doing that? Well, we're going to get a GPU that's capable of playing all those titles, and we're going to invest in that GPU specifically. Let's jump into that GPU. I went with a Gigabyte Gaming OC Radeon RX 7600 XT, 16 gigabyte GPU. Right now, they're all 329 basically. You can take your pick of the litter. This is the only card that I have a lot of experience with right now. It does have, it's 3-fan. The cooler's massive overkill for this thing. You can overclock it a little bit if you want. In addition to that, or you can just do the auto overclocking feature. Heck, you can just do whatever you want, just run it out of the box. It's going to give you far more than 60 FPS at 1440p across all titles. Now, what are your alternatives here? It's 3060 12 gigabyte, not bad if you want to save, $40 or $50 and you got to hit under that $700 price point. That would have been my go-to is the 3060. That's more like 60 FPS at 1440p. If you can find a 6700 XT 12 gigabyte, I would strongly urge you to buy that for around $330 over this. But there's only one model at the time I'm filming this, and I have no confidence it's even going to be in stock by the time this video goes live. I think those are just all going away. Let's talk about the performance level you can expect from this GPU. This is the RX 7600 XT 16 gigabyte tech spot review. I'll leave it linked down in the video description. They go through all the individual games. You should focus in on that if there are some specific games that you play. Right now, look at 67 average FPS across a wide suite of titles at 1440p with higher ultra settings. You should get significantly more performance, especially in those competitive shooter type games where you're going to turn it down to competitive settings. Let's look at the alternative right now, which is the 3060 12 gigabyte. Actually, that 3060 12 gigabyte would perform about where that 2070 Super would, and that's what I would urge you to get if you had to hit under that $700 price point, because you can pick that up for about $290 right now, save yourself about 30 or 40 bucks off that 7600 XT. But the 6700 XT 12 gigabyte, if you can pick that up, it is a substantial boost. It's a substantial boost, but unfortunately, it's just going away. I think the 7600 XT is going to have to become my new go-to around $300 for 1440p gaming. Now listen, for the rest of the build, in order to make room for this bigger GPU, we made a couple of compromises here, but I did set you up on a future upgrade path. So this PC is not going to be dead in a couple of years. You will be able to upgrade it. I went with the AMD Ryzen 5500, the 5500 for $99 right now. I was trying to squeeze a 5600 in or an i5 12400, just reasonably could not do it given your budget and given the FPS targets that we wanted to hit at 1440p. But this is going to be a wildly performative CPU for what you're paying for it. And in the future, you are going to be able to drop in a Ryzen 5700X 3D, 5800X 3D, and kind of turn this whole PC up to another level of performance. And it comes with an included Race Stealth stock cooler, absolutely adequate for what we're doing. For the motherboard, I went with a Gigabyte B550M DS3H AC. Now, you wanted Wi-Fi on your motherboard, it looked like. The B450 AC boards, none of them really have BIOS flashback, which I think you might need still for the 5500 on some of those older boards. So I just went with this instead for like $10 more. It's only a $10 difference right now. I figured let's get you a B550. That way you get PCIe Gen 4 when you drop in that new CPU upgrade, the 5700X3D, 5800X3D in the future. You will not have it right now because the 5500 is only PCIe Gen 3, but we'll set ourselves up for the future. The other reason I like the B550 boards over the B450, the B450 boards typically only have one M.2 slot, where the B550s come with two. Almost all of them come with at least two slots on it, which is 2 thumbs up, so you'll be able to add in storage in the future as well. RAM, we just went ultra budget cheap here, silicon powered DDR4 3200 Seal 16, same performance as the kit you were looking at, but $35, much better price. For the drive, I just went and saved another $10 off or $8 off here, going with the silicon power 1 terabyte NVMe. Again, the A60 here is all you need. It's absolutely all you need for gaming, and we're just looking for the cheapest thing. Now, this drive used to be like $35, now it's $61, so you can see the direction storage is going in. That's why I keep urging people, if you want to build a gaming PC in 2024, honestly, the beginning of the year is probably the time to do it before these prices go up. For the case, again, we're just trying to save all the money we could actually gone with a cheaper case, but then you get into Molex fans, and I just think the Bitfinex Nova Mesh is really tough to beat in terms of its price to performance. It's only $58, so it's actually about $12 cheaper in the case you were looking at. It still comes with 3 included ARGB fans. We built our 7800 XT and Ryzen 7600 build in it. Absolutely amazing for that build. So I really do like this case for about $58. Honestly, for the PSU, I could have spent another $15 or $20. Unfortunately, those MSI units have come up in price about 15 or 20 bucks since last week. I don't know what's going on there. They have been fluctuating. It's possible that it's selling out again, and we'll be stuck with the Apivia Prestige 600 watt. If you want to go ahead and buy one of them, like the A550BN or A650BN, those are the MSI units, for about $60, $65, you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I think you're fine to stay with this unit for $52. All told, for $734 right now, you are getting a hugely performative 1440p gaming PC that has a future upgrade path. At the CPU. You're going to drop in that 5700X 3D in a couple years, and you're going to be good to go. And you're going to be able to play all titles right now at 1440p. Pretty darn good frame rates right now with 16 gigs of VRAM on this thing for $735. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. Okay, we've got Brianna. Brianna says, I'm a new mom. The only time I really get to myself these days is when I game after I put her down to bed for the night. So I really need a better setup. All right, I hear you on that one. Let's get you a better setup. Your intended use for the PC is playing games like Rust, CS2, Call of Duty. So you like kind of more competitive shooter type games. Okay, your budget's around $1,800 USD. Good news, we're definitely gonna be able to get you a kick butt PC for that. And you're located in the USA. Let's see what you got. Holy moly, holy moly, holy moly. This is the classic time capsule build. Wow, look at this parts list. Now I do see you have a monitor in here, by the way, and you've got a 1080p gaming monitor. No. $1,800? No, we are gonna do way better for that. In fact, let's just say right now off the top, this is a $1,500 build because we're gonna take $300 to make sure that we get you a good gaming monitor to go with this entire setup. So $1,500 setup right now, you finish actually $9 over your current budget. And I see a couple things in here that don't have prices, so that's not good, because even like your Corsair IQ fan pack here doesn't have a price. And I know those fans are like, what, $45, $50. Same with your motherboard, no price in here for your B450F gaming motherboard. Yeah, it's a time capsule. This is so old. Let's start off with the GPU. You know, again, if we're assuming this is a $1,500 gaming PC, not an $1,800, because we're going to take and spend $300 for that monitor, 7800 XT is absolutely fine. I would love to see if we can get a 7900 XT in here. I don't know if you need a 7900 XT for the kind of games that you're playing. They're a little bit more lightweight. I think the 7800 XT would destroy them at 1440p. So we could look at a 1440p 240 hertz setup with this. So overall, I do like the GPU, but again, it seems like the dollar value of the build and the GPU might be slightly mismatched. But here's where the time capsule build comes in, because this build would have been smoking awesome in 2020 or 2021 before Ryzen 7000 came out, because you went with the Ryzen 5700X. The 5700X is not a CPU that we want to see at $1,500. I don't want to see it at $1,200. This is a kind of more budget-oriented CPU. If you also need a lot of production work in addition to gaming, then I would think about the 5700X, although honestly, I don't think this has much of a place, even at $180 right now, given you have to get another different cooler from it. It doesn't come with a stock cooler. And in terms of gaming performance, not that different than the 5600, just not that different. We want to go with a much faster, more mid-range CPU for this build. And then we went kind of ham on all the stuff that I would typically recommend. And I can almost tell why this happened. And in fact, this is why I started my channel. I started my channel because, like a lot of folks, every couple of years I'd come back and want to build a gaming PC, and you have to sift through like what's the latest, and you get confused between the old stuff and the new stuff. And I think that's what happened to you here. This is why we created our channel: accessibility. We want more people being able to build gaming PCs in this space. And it's very, very confusing if you're coming back or if you've never built a gaming PC before, because you went with the motherboard with a ROG Strix B450-F. There's actually a 2 version of this that you can actually still find. This is too much motherboard for this CPU. I think this motherboard sells for like $140, $150 if you get the Wi-Fi 2 version of it. It's just not worth the effort, honestly, for this particular motherboard. We want to go with a much more advanced platform anyway. For the cooler, I don't hate the Noctua NH-U12. It's just, to me, massively overpriced for the performance. Noctua is in a weird place. Yes, they produce high quality stuff, but honestly, Thermalright, Deep Cool, and others have massively caught up to them in terms of the performance and killing them in terms of price right now. I just say avoid these types of coolers. We went with 2 of these kits. So we went with 64 gigs of DDR4 3600 CL18. The speed's fine. You don't need 64 gigs for anything that you're doing. 32 gigs would have been plenty. I see why you went with this. You went with a 4-stick configuration, which, yes, we would have recommended a couple of years ago to squeeze every little last ounce of performance out of the 5700X. However, these days we have better CPUs that you could buy. You could just jump up to a better CPU platform for a fraction of the cost, because these 2 kits alone are going to cost you $200, not each, but total $100 each. And that's just way too much money to spend. The storage totally confuses me here. I don't know why we have a Samsung 860 EVO 500 gigabyte drive for $106. Now, it's possible, I think what's going on here is you meant to probably put this at $0. It feels like this is a drive that's being dragged over from a previous build. I do the same. Just about everybody does the same thing, right? You just take out your old drive and you just slam it in there so you can access all your old files. That's fine. We're just going to assume this doesn't exist, basically. Do not buy this brand new for a 500 gig SSD, a SATA SSD for $106. I will say, in terms of your storage, you went with 2 of these Western Digital Black SN770 2 terabyte drives. Not terrible for the cost. Man, SSD prices are going up pretty rapidly. If you check out right now, if you want 4 terabytes of NVMe storage, 4 terabyte drives are actually better priced than 2 terabytes. And that is a complete flip from just a couple months ago. Has to do with why the prices are going up, how the prices are going up. Most of the 2 terabyte models have sold through that were cheaper, and now, but there's still 4 terabyte models on the market that I think we're going to target instead. The case that, to me, this is part of what screamed kind of time capsule build. You went with the NZXT H510. This is a case that I never really liked that much, but it was super popular just a couple years ago. There are better versions of this case. And if you want NZXT, look, I know I slam NZXT all the time because their cases priced to performance typically don't cut the mustard versus their competitors, but I know some folks out there really love the design aesthetic. And if you're one of those folks, we can just get you a better case. I just want to see better airflow than this like mostly metal kind of just coffin. Finally, for the power supply, wow, you went with the Corsair RM1200X Shift. This is a fantastic PSU, by the way, A-tier rated, fantastic. but like $200, we do not need this much power. This is way more power supply than our build needs. Now, if you want to get the shifts where you plug them in on the side, I actually think this is really cool to do, but let's get you a more appropriately sized power unit and a lot cheaper one as well. And then of course we got all these fans and stuff in here that we're just not going to need with a different build and a different setup that we don't even have pricing in here for. So you would have been way over that $1,800. You're about more like $2,200, $2,100 on this thing. So I just see so much room for improvement in this thing. We just need to come up to 2024 and get you an appropriate build for this price point. I called this the $1,500 1440p 240Hz with a monitor. Remember, it's $1,800 budget, and I took $300 and we're going to spend it on an amazing 1440p 240Hz gaming monitor, because one of the big mistakes people often make is they build this amazing gaming PC and have this crap monitor, and you're like, what? I don't get it. But where did I finish out? $1,795.87. So you are going to spend like $2,200 once you put in the pricing for the parts that we're missing in there. Instead, we're going to spend about $1,800 and you're going to get an amazing gaming monitor and an amazing gaming PC. And there is tons and tons of storage in this thing, by the way. If you decide you don't need all that crazy amount of storage and you want to cut back a little bit, we could even pump the performance a little bit, and we'll talk about that as we go. Let's start with the gaming monitor before we get to the GPU, because obviously that's really important, right? What kind of monitor are we playing on? We're playing on a 1440 240Hz monitor. This is the AOC CQ27G3Z. It's curved, it's VA. If you don't want curved and VA, for about $50 more, there's a number of flat IPS panels that I recommend in our best gaming monitor 2024 video. I'll leave a couple linked down in the video description. Check those out. But I think this is a great budget option to get you into it. Amazing panel. It looks great. It's got great contrast to it. Got great motion handling. 240Hz for just $299. Let's talk about the GPU that's powering it. It's the PowerColor Hellhound RX 7800 XT is the one that you picked out. Can't really go wrong with any of these models. They're all really phenomenal. In terms of the performance level, this chart shows TechSpot's RTX 4070 Ti Super Review. This is 1440p across a 12 game average. These 12 games are typically more single player oriented, harder to run, some with ray tracing turned on by default, not really indicative of the FPS you'd get in a competitive shooting title when you're going to turn those down to competitive settings, right? But even so, you get about 100 FPS, 1440p with this 7800 XT, even running these super hard to run titles. And if you look at the 4070 Super with only 12 gigs of VRAM, that's really your alternative here for like $600, $100 more. Only 12 gigs of VRAM is only going to give you another 10%. Just don't love the 4070 Super with 12 gigs of VRAM. But if you have to have NVIDIA, that is the card that I would pick up. Alternatively, if you want to go up the stack, if you want to cut some of the storage that we're adding in here that's pretty expensive, then you could go up to a 7900 XT, and look at that. You pick up a ton of performance, an absolute ton of performance. And those are $699 right now. You could definitely get there with this build. For the CPU, we're going Ryzen 5 7600 or 7600X, whichever you can find cheaper. Right now, the 199 7600 kind of sold through. You got to back order it from Newegg for about $209. Great price. Try and get them around that $210 to $199 price if you can. In terms of overall performance, crushes the 5700X, crushes it in gaming, absolutely crushes it. You're going to get 25% more performance with this level of GPU than you will with a 5700X. And even in terms of multi-threaded stuff, even, oh, it's an 8-core versus 6-core. Yeah, but these 6 cores are way more performative. It's like a lawnmower versus a car engine, basically. In terms of the cooler, no matter which CPU you get, 7600, 7600X, you're going to throw away the included stock cooler from the 7600, you're going to replace it with at least a budget tower air cooler. Here's one I like a lot. The Thermalright Assassin X120 SE, all white RGB. Looks really amazing. The fan, pretty good performer on it. You can, of course, go with more cooling if you want. I'm just giving you this because I think this is really all you need. For the motherboard, I probably went a little overkill here. I went with the Asus ROG Strix B650-A. You seemed like you wanted that Strix motherboard, so I figured let's get you some cool stuff in here. Let's get you the Strix version. I got you the white version. It's way cheaper than the Strix-F. This is the one that I would get. Tons of M.2 connections. It's got super upgraded audio, tons of audio capacitors on it. Comes with the Wi-Fi. Comes with really everything that you need for $220. You could go super more budget on this for like $140 if you want to save some money, climb towards that 7900 XT. But in this case, I decided let's spend a little bit more because in the future, I feel like we are going to put a drop-in upgrade of like a 9800X3D in a couple years' time. For the RAM, I feel like a broken record with Ryzen 7000 or even Intel 13th or 14th gen unlocked CPUs, DDR5 6000 CL30. Do not pass go, do not collect $100. That's pretty much it. And I love this Team Group kit. It continues to be my favorite one to recommend because of the price to performance. I've used a ton of these kits. Not really much more to say. If you don't want to get white DIMMs, they have black ones as well for $109. In terms of the case, I know you wanted that NZXT case, so I got you the NZXT H5 Flow. So this has a front mesh panel, 240 millimeter ARGB fans. It's got one rear fan that's not RGB. You can replace that with an RGB fan if you want. This is a great case, and it's got that cool little designy bar in the middle, as you can see right there, for your cable management, which is what people loved out of the H510, the original one. And it's got way better airflow. It's only $13 more than the one you were looking at, and it's gonna look amazing. For the power supply, I decided not to go with one of the shift units. It's like $30 more just to plug it in the side. Just trust, you just plug all the stuff in before you install the power supply. I do like the Corsair RM750E. I can't believe it's selling for $79 right now. This was selling for $99 over the holidays. Just a kind of a case where things are coming down in terms of overall price. 750 watts is all you need for this build. For the storage, we went with the Team Group MP34. So this is a Gen 3 drive with DRAM on it. It's 4 terabytes for $225. Insane pricing. Insane pricing. You cannot get two 2 terabyte SSDs for less money anymore. Pick these drives up while you can. If you want tons and tons of storage. Now listen, we went with 4 terabytes of storage. I don't know why we need 4 terabytes. If you're like, oh, Jason, I could tell you why we need it for X, Y, then that's fine. If you're just doing it because you're like paranoid about storage, I'd say maybe start with 2 terabytes and maybe up the GPU to like a 7900 XT instead. That would be kind of one of my plays, but otherwise I love this drive. So all told, for $1,795.87, you're gonna get an insanely performative 1440p, 240 hertz gaming PC in those competitive titles, and you're gonna drive lots of frames in pretty much everything else. And we got you an amazing gaming monitor in the AOC CQ27G3Z, so hope you feel like your build is boosted. Remember, if you got value out of this video, give it a like, as it really does make a difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon, that way you get notified when we release cool content. Hey, speaking of cool content, did you check out our best CPU and GPU combo guide for 2024? I'll put it right here. We go through everything that you need to know to buy the best CPU and GPU combo in 2024. You don't have to buy the wrong one. And we'll catch you on the next one.